Memory and perspective, two things that complement one another, and two things that can also change, particularly with time. A different perspective on a shared memory may transform what once seemed good into that which is bad. Remember those words, dear reader, as we stumble forward into today's book review, a touching and haunting tale by an author whose work I can't help but fall in love with. Join me as we discuss and review A Pale View of Hills by Kazuo Ishiguro. For those who stop by often, you may know that Kazuo Ishiguro is one of my favourite authors. Born in Nagasaki, Japan and raised in the UK from a young age, Ishiguro has a very introspective and deeply emotive writing style. He's also not shy about adding a twist that can leave you feeling flustered. Readers may know some of his other prominent works. These include Never Let Me Go and The Remains of the Day, both I have reviewed on this channel. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for his contribution to fiction, and I can certainly understand why. There is something deeply moving, sometimes even terrifying, in his writing, touching on human connection, memory, and the passage of time. A Pale View of Hills tells the story of an older woman named Etsuko reflecting on her early years in Japan and her life in post-war Nagasaki. In the present day, in England, she's visited by her daughter Nikki. Their discussions often touch on the suicide of Keiko, Etsuko's older daughter. It is unclear at the start of this book why this may have occurred, although it is suggested that Keiko felt isolated in the Western world. The climate in post-war Japan is one of quiet optimism. As the country slowly rebuilds after the loss of the war, a generational and ideological shift begin to emerge between young and old. Certain behaviours are changing and long-held ways of thinking are being quietly renounced. A younger Etsuko lives in a newly built housing area on the outskirts of the city. While Japan is rebuilding, there remains uncertainty about what the future will hold. At the back of the development lies a river and a long expanse of woodland, creating a divide between man and nature. In an old cottage near the river, Etsuko meets a woman named Sajiko, who lives alone with her daughter Mariko. Sajiko is rather nonchalant when it comes to the care of her daughter Mariko. She is highly self-righteous and often openly expressive about how she feels, yet at the same time she seems unconcerned by the distress that is clearly visible in her daughter's behaviour. She's a character who will frustrate you, and unlike her counterpart Etsuko, who comes across as caring, quiet and reserved, yet at the same time sensible, these are qualities that are lacking in Sajiko. This is a slow and steady book, like most of Ishiguro's work. The writing is beautiful and the payoff is huge, however, do not expect action on every page. This journey is more reflective than suspenseful, but what sets this book apart from the others? Well, spoilers ahead. As you near the end of this book, something dramatic happens. The narrative begins to feel off. Certain wording starts to make little sense. At the climax of the story, Sajiko, despite promising her daughter that she could keep the kittens she had found, drowns them all in the river. It is a conclusion that seals your disgust for Sajiko. Her daughter Mariko falls silent and the whole atmosphere changes. Then the perspective shifts, and it shifts dramatically. Details begin to overlap. It appears that the narrator of this tale, Etsuko, the caring, quiet and reserved person portrayed, is not being truthful in her retelling of the past. Etsuko and Sajiko are actually the same person. The story you've been told is very different from the reality of what happened. It was not Sajiko who drowned the kittens in the river. It was Etsuko, and Mariko, the girl you feel is being ignored by her mother, is actually Etsuko's daughter, Keiko, who in the present day ended her own life. It becomes quite clear that Etsuko may be embellishing the truth. You could even say she's outright lying. It is a lot to unpack, and it is unsettling to find out firsthand how perspective and narrative can change based on who's telling the story. It is no doubt true that you and I have experienced such a phenomenon, and you may have even participated in it. Narrative and perspective can change drastically depending on what a person wants you to hear, especially if wrongdoing is at play. At the end of this book, you feel cheated. You begin to question everything you've read up until that point. It is a haunting feeling, thinking of how easily you have been deceived, and so the book ends, leaving you shocked. This book should be the very definition of an impactful read. It had me floored when I finally laid it down on the table to rest. I felt such a vast array of emotions at its final. So many pages had you feeling despair at the way Sajiko treats her daughter, and then it's revealed that Sajiko is a character created to deceive. She is the very person telling the tale. It also flips every story you've read on its head, as you are only ever seeing one side of the coin. Makes you question what might be on the other. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. It has yet again cemented why I love Kazuo Ishiguro's work. I would certainly recommend it, but do remember, that is only my perspective. There may be another. Thank you very much for spending a little time here regarding this book review. I will be posting another book review soon. I have been lapsed, I admit. I'm still working on A Clockwork Orange book review. That book is quite troublesome to read. But I will have a book review here soon. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. If you'd like to find out more information about this book, please see my description below. And again, thank you very much. Happy reading. Bye-bye.